Coinbase is set to go head-to-head with the SEC in a full-on regulatory showdown that marks the beginning of an escalated war on crypto. Now, what does it really mean? Well, in my opinion, this is the fight that we've been waiting for quite some time. We've seen the SEC go head-to-head with XRP Ripple. Now, what's happened over the past few years is that slowly but surely the SEC has been beaten back from their position that XRP is a security. In fact, we've seen multiple instances of the Judiciary Branch, the judges within the XRP case, rejecting different logic from the SEC. Now, what we've also seen is that the SEC has attempted to block the sale of Voyager assets to Binance US. Now, that entire sale, the judge has rejected any notion that the SEC has a grounds to block it. In fact, arguing with pretty hostile language against the SEC's rulings. We have a ton of evidence over the past few months that the Judiciary Branch is ultimately the decider of whether or not cryptos are breaking the laws and what those laws very well might be. And so the actually, they're not going to write the laws, but they enforce the laws and they interpret the laws. And what we've seen is that having essentially one agency just throw enforcement actions out left, right, and center, some of which might be valid. I'm not saying that there's no reason to have any regulation or regulatory enforcement. There are laws that should be upheld. But the question is, just blanket suing Coinbase, that to me is going to open up the opportunity for Coinbase to push back in the Judiciary Branch. Now, this marks an entirely new era of the fight against crypto, and I believe this is how it's going to play out. Coinbase most likely will have the ability to put forth several very well thought through, years in the making legal arguments, and of course, they'll be able to afford protracted long-term litigation. They're not going to give this up. Just like Ripple, whether they win or lose against the SEC in this particular case, there will be an appeal, and that appeal will go to a higher court and so on and so forth. I do believe that there's a high probability that some of these cases eventually make it to the Supreme Court. And this, my friends, is where it gets very interesting, because the Supreme Court is the ultimate decider of the law. They are the ones who take any kind of legislation, any kind of grievance in the judiciary system, and eventually lay down the letter of the law. And right now, the judiciary at the Supreme Court, the makeup of the Supreme Court, leans heavily conservative, which means that to restrict innovation, to restrict freedoms, is the less likely scenario. It means that at the highest level of the judiciary system, there is a likelihood of crypto winning a massive, massive victory. Now, could that be years down the line? Could that be a significant amount of time from now? That's quite possible. But what's important to realize is that I believe this is a very important battle, a very important moment in the entire evolution of the crypto space, and that it is one that will eventually be looked at as the biggest breakout moment for crypto. Eventually, you know the 4 stages. First, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. I do believe we are in stage 3 of that 4. I also believe that this is where the crypto people get to really lean on the freedoms that have been imparted upon them by the democracy that is America. And although we understand that certain regulatory bodies want to see certain changes from the industry, those changes need to be passed into law by Congress. We need to see more sort of agreement across the board, and it needs to come from the crypto industry as well, some of this self-regulation that we so desperately want. The goal is not to be a rogue Wild West playground for bad actors. Crypto is the future of money. It's the future of value. It's the future of the internet. It's the future of our society, I believe. And having some clear guidelines as to how to build these things in a compliant way is all this industry has ever wanted. And I believe that that is what's going to come out of this, in addition to several major protections to the rights of crypto holders. So I do believe that this is a fight that ends up being a huge net positive for crypto. I know Coinbase is ready for this battle. They're prepared to take this as far and as long as it needs to be taken in order to ensure that the crypto industry is able to proceed and continue to grow as it has. There's a ton of innovation, a ton of things to be excited about. And I do believe that the next era of crypto is brighter than this one. But this is definitely something that is the biggest news of the day. And I think that when you look at it from a distance, when you step back and you understand how the judiciary has been interpreting the law as it pertains to the SEC and certain crypto cases, as you look at how the judiciary will interpret a company like Coinbase, who's literally done everything that they can to be as compliant as possible. They're NASDAQ listed. They've reviewed all of their practices with the SEC multiple times before. It's almost hard for me to imagine any other outcome, but crypto companies doing very well and getting some positive legislation in the books from this over time. We will see. I'll be keeping you up to date, but this is the beginning of the great war on crypto from the regulatory powers that be. And I do believe that it is the beginning of a battle that we will eventually win. As always, I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to subscribe and put that bell notification on for more content. And I'll see you soon on the next episode.